Hi, welcome. This is our March edition of, I was thinking what month it is. This is our March edition of the Burlington School District Commissioner Corner show, and I am so excited to welcome our Burlington High School Philosophy Club here today. I'll start with introductions. My name is Claire Wool, as chair of the Burlington School Board, and I'm welcoming here today. We'll go around the corner. We'll start with Tyler.
My name is Tyler Doggett. I'm a professor of philosophy at UVM and the coach of Philosophy Club.
I'm Vera Finkenzeller. I'm a junior and just a student member of Philosophy Club.
Right.
I'm Max Spencer, and I'm also a student/member of Philosophy Club.
I'm Annie Hart. I'm a junior, and I'm a student member of Philosophy Club as well.
I'm Gus Barkham, and I'm also a junior and a student member of Philosophy Club and Ethics Pool.
And as I shared when I met all of them here today, I'm so happy they're all juniors to give us legs in this club. They shared with me that this started freshman year with all of you guys. And Tyler, I know you also are a parent of an alumni, BHS alumni, as well as a current student. How did it come to be? And then how the students took over, the idea and then the action?
So I'm interested in philosophy. I teach philosophy at UVM, as I said, and so I spend a lot of time talking about philosophy with 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20, 21-year-olds. And I also am interested in talking philosophy with younger people. I used to teach a second grade philosophy class, and I've known some of the kids in Philosophy Club for a long time. My youngest child is a member. He's also a junior, and so I've known Gus since he was born. I've known Mac since he was born, and so I knew there were kids who were interested in philosophy at BHS, but BHS, like the vast majority of high schools in the US, doesn't have a philosophy program, and so I thought there might be an opportunity to do some philosophy in schools, and I knew the kids were philosophical and supportive of it, and so we started as a once-a-week club, the first year they were in high school.
Wonderful. And you're right. I mean, when you go to a public school, there are not a lot of funding necessarily. So we talk about after school, or I know this started as an in-school during choice time, and then evolved to after school. How did you guys start? Was there an opportunity in school for you to do signups, or how did that become?
So it started first of all when Tyler's son sent me an email asking if I would run the table at the club fair to start it off. And the club fair is at the start of the year where every club at BHS has a table, and students can go around during advisory and lunch, and they go around and they can talk to them. There's a sign-up sheet with your email and your name. And before we even had our first meeting, I was at the table with a few other students here, and we were gathering sign-ups from a lot of different students, and it was difficult because we didn't really know what we did.
Right.
We didn't know what it was.
That's the first time.
But we knew that Tyler was going to teach it, and we knew that all of us were going to do it, so we knew that it was going to be something worth doing.
Interesting, yeah, because signing up was more, I mean, kids must have asked you, what do you do? And you're like, we're not really sure. But what were some of the questions, or kids just said, I'll be interested, but let me know how it goes?
So the way that the activities fair worked was there were all these tables, and it was kind of like each club kind of stayed at their own table.
Yeah.
Then what we did was we started to send out people to like make their rounds, and like we got to get more people to our side. I don't think we had as popular clubs next to us.
Right.
And I remember the questions we would get would be like, what is philosophy? I think what I would say, I was just like, I think we're going to end up just talking, and it's going to be about whatever you want. So, and it's going to be whatever.
And what a nice invitation! Like it disarms students. Sometimes they think, well, do I have to be in AP classes? Do I have to be really smart? Do I have to be someone who is a really deep thinker? But I love that they had felt comfortable enough asking you those questions, and that you had the security of someone you knew who was I know the UNC, you have to have an advisor. It can't just be student-led, and so that gives it legs. We're lucky we live in a college town, so UVM professors, and if we're lucky, they're part of our community. They can offer their expertise. So that's great. And so tell me, Vera, what does practice look like, or when you get together on Tuesdays?
Yeah, practice like on Tuesdays after school, and it's in our German room. So normally our German teacher's in there with us, and he's just like curious and excited about what we're talking about. And normally it's just like a few members, like maybe around like 9, and it's very like welcoming, like having Tyler in and like his like warmth and how he like welcomes everyone into the club makes it just like feel very like, accessible to like, I didn't know any of these people like when I first joined, and like meeting them and like knowing them throughout these like years, it's just been like awesome. And this club has just like gotten that. So like our practices on Tuesdays, we just talk about like, sometimes we talk about our ethics cases, or we talk about problems that are happening in the world, things that just like really dig deeper into our learning. Yeah.
Right. And Annie, I know you've been a part of BHS drama. How does this differ from, I know you have to have the courage to speak, right, during philosophy club and share your opinion, but you're actually talking not necessarily, you know, in acting and BHS drama, or I know you've written your own scripts as well, the One-Ox. You know, what are the subject matters, like when they talk about cases, as Vera explained, or is it things that Mac had just said, like things that are current events that are happening?
Yeah, well, I think it's a combination of both for sure. And the really cool thing is, and we've mentioned this, but it's how accessible it is. Oftentimes, we find ourselves bringing up stories from like our parents or from something that happened to our neighbor. Like it's very, you don't have to have, like we're connecting our personal experiences to a global understanding. And that's really great because, you know, even the most complicated philosophical concepts, in theory they sound scary and difficult, but at the surface level, they're all things we can relate to when they're presented differently. And as for cases, we've had all sorts of cases. We've talked about like veganism. A good example of a case was if you are vegan and you don't want to feed your dog food with meat in it, like is that immoral because you could be hurting the dog's health? Like there are these questions that we could spend hours and hours talking about, and they're fun and they're interesting, and you know they're not super complicated.
Can I ask a follow-up about this?
Yeah.
So what are topics that you four have liked talking about in Philosophy Club over the last few years? And like, have there been topics you've just been completely uninterested in?
We'll go Gus, and then we'll go counterclockwise.
Oh, I gotta think about this. I really enjoy when we talk about things that we can relate to more, like teenager stuff, school stuff, because everyone gets involved. When it's more of a specific thing, like there were times when we talked about government and Bernie Sanders came in, and there were a few students who dominated the conversation because of just their sheer knowledge on it, and some students took a step back because they didn't know too much about it. And those, I was a bit, I didn't prefer those over the ones that everyone could relate to and everyone could get into.
Good feedback. Annie?
I don't have a specific case, but there's like a type of case that I like a lot, and it's like it's a confusing question, and at first everyone's like silent, and maybe one person will say one thing, and then we'll wait a few minutes, and then someone else will say something, and then all of a sudden everyone has something to say, because like just, you know, it's kind of cool. It's like their peers comprehending the question suddenly made it easy for other people to contribute to. I know there was one we did about like sports and, you know, training athlete to be like a, you know, an NBA player when they're really young, when they might not have the ability to like speak up for what they want. Is it okay for parents to do that? And at first we were just like, we all came to like an easy consensus on it. And then one person said something to challenge that idea, and then all of a sudden it was like everything changed. That was a cool example.
Mac?
I think I first of all agree with Gus and Annie. I think my interests are in, I'm really interested in physics. Not that I'm very mathematical. I just think that physics is really interesting to me, and connecting it to philosophy is kind of the main part of physics that I like. So in addition to those, which I know this is kind of sometimes a counter because sometimes people feel like they can't talk about something like physics, which can seem so esoteric.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just as interesting and just as everyday life because it's so existential. So I think when we get towards like scientific philosophy, that's kind of my favorite
I love that's wonderful to hear. Yeah, I hear you there.
Yeah, my favorite like cases or topics that we talk about are kind of like what Gus said, like things that I kind of do have outside knowledge about. But also I really enjoy talking about like the vague cases that you can bring like certain examples into, and that like kind of like you can bring in so many different like points of views that like they all tie together and like create an argument. Like those are my favorites. Just ones that like everyone can add something to. Those are just
And Tyler, as the advisor, what about if you have someone who takes all the air out of the room, or a dominant person?
Yeah.
I mean, is it self-checked by peers to say, or do you, like, not that it gets so rambunctious or like heated, like when do you say, okay, you've shared your opinion, or because there's no right or wrong necessarily in philosophy. Have they monitored themselves beautifully, or?
I don't. So I'd be interested in knowing if this is your all's experience, but like, it doesn't seem to me like I'm doing any monitoring.
Okay.
Like it does seem to me like you basically run the club yourselves, and my job is to write ideas on the board. I will sometimes like steer discussion. Sometimes people get rambunctious about something, and we gotta like
Bring it back.
But for the most part, like I don't feel like I'm doing a lot of steering. I'm just like in the car with people, and Vera might be driving for a while, and then Mac, and then Annie, and then Gus. And
Right.
yeah, we don't have to worry about like someone demanding to take the wheel. I mean,
Yeah.
Do you want to ask us?
well,
Because I'll say one thing. It could just be that I am one of the dominating ones, but I don't feel that way.
so I'm just reluctant. I don't know if I should say this, but my experience when Bernie came to Philosophy Club Claire was that it was really amazing. It was like one of the most amazing pedagogical moments like I've ever
we have
experienced.
a picture of the post with Bernie Sanders.
But
so
but Gus alluded to this. Oh yeah, there it is. That's a good one. Yeah, it was, Claire, I thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
But there was, like Gus alluded to this, like there was some pushback that I think some people in Philosophy Club felt like that wasn't a great philosophy club because it ended up being dominated by a small number of people. And like
Okay.
the ideal philosophy club involves like more people
Everybody.
getting involved.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell us with that, because I mean, this here you have, we all know Bernie Sanders because state senator, and his grandchildren attend BHS, and there is that familiarity to this person that you relate to, and but what was that like having him and the questions that were asked, or set the scene?
I thought it was really cool to have him in. I know, contrary to what Tyler said, yes, it was dominated, but I think in that case it was okay to have that happen.
Yeah.
And it was a really great experience, and we did a pretty good job of keeping it under wraps so that it could but it could be enjoyed mostly by the students of the club who came week after week.
Yeah.
There was obviously a few leaks
Yeah.
in it because the main students knew about it. And a lot of people, and just you got to share with your friends when something exciting happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
A couple of kids from Rice somehow got in.
Okay.
I didn't know about it when it. I heard rumors. So.
That is so fun. And what were some of the questions? What did you talk about with Senator Sanders?
Oligarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like
We
this
got it.
tour he's doing across the country, Claire. We got it first.
I was just going to say. Okay, so that was January or October. When did he come? No, October. November.
This was
I have to
last
look
year.
at the date.
It was
Yeah,
in
last
It
year.
was October 2023.
October 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right, Annie. He came in and he was like, "What's the biggest problem facing our country?"
Yeah.
And we didn't get it right. We didn't pass the test.
Yeah.
Did you answer?
No. Oh, I remember thinking, I think part of the reason that Philosophy Club felt different than others was because we all wanted to impress Bernie.
Oh, yeah.
So, as one would.
Yes.
And so whenever there was a
That's really
question,
funny.
it was like, oh, is it this? Is it this? And, oftentimes we wouldn't get it right, or it'd be something. And then people would get shy.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a wonderful experience. We're so lucky for that. But I think that was part of what added to it, was like we, respected Bernie so much,
Yeah,
and
it's
there
a
were
really
these
good
words
point,
that we
yeah.
didn't, at least I didn't know what they
Right.
meant.
It's a famous oligarchy.
And so, yeah, and like I think we should like look at that philosophy club a little differently than other ones. Like that was kind of more of a lecture style that we could then debrief later on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we could have gone into that with a bit of a different mindset.
Yeah.
And I wanted to correct myself. So so here you were bringing in the senator long before all of this, and then the news of January and where we're seeing now and students talking about it. And it is great that you had that experience. And I loved, there's nothing wrong with showing respect and being professional as young adults and courteous to a public speaker. That's your hosting, you know. So I appreciate that qualities, and I appreciate the takeaway. And then I do want to talk about, I know people have come in and talked about philosophy of Shakespeare, and family members, you know, again, parents chiming in, and some of your guest speakers. I know we have some of the Instagram posts of people that came. You had Professor Chan, and explain what that visit was like, if you don't mind, and also Randall.
Yeah.
Randall's a fan favorite.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe.
Matt, you want to expand on that?
Oh, he has an enthusiasm that matches Tyler. So that's so fun.
What
I
did
think
you discuss with him?
we talked a lot about AI
Okay.
and kind of ethics around AI, and this was the first. What year was the first
Yeah,
meeting? It
Randall.
was
I think
pretty
Randall's
early
come.
on.
I think Randall's come all the years. 22,
Okay.
23, 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
He hasn't come in 25 yet, but he's coming.
Right?
Yeah, so he
My first meeting was Randall was there.
really okay.
Great.
Perfect. That's a great
Right.
introduction.
And community member, professor.
Professor Harp is a professor at UVM. He's one of
Thank
my
you.
colleagues at UVM.
Wonderful.
Yep, he's a member of the Burlington Police Commission for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the consistency is so great to have adults come in and connect with you. But go ahead, I didn't want to cut you off.
No worries. I didn't have much more to say about it other than it was cool how early on we got to talk about AI ethics.
Truly.
Because it was like ChatGPT, I think the one that's gotten popular was 2022.
Yes.
So that was awesome. It was like completely new then. So this club has certainly provided some pretty exclusive opportunities for sure. Although exclusive might not be the right word because it's so accessible.
Yes, yes, yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
they
true.
feel exclusive, you know?
Meaning your guests, like you
Yeah,
have an
yeah.
audience, or you can be participating with someone who has credentials that accessibility makes it feel exclusive, but they're very accessible.
Yeah,
Again, one of those
yeah.
benefits of living in a college town and having people interested in shaping our youth. We always talk about students that attend the universities or Champlain or St. Michael's in their practicums, where they come and they student teach. No different than professors wanting to hear, what's the next generation interested coming up that I'm going to be serving? So
Right,
how
yeah.
great. Well, guests aside, learning about cases. Now can we talk about the competition? Just walk me through. I have no idea. You have 7 to 12 students that are part of the team. You prepare for your
So
regional.
can we just to back up a little
Yes.
bit? So originally Philosophy Club was non-competitive.
Okay.
And we discovered that there is a competitive form of philosophy called Ethics Bowl, which is like a little bit like debate. The topics are always philosophy. A big difference between Ethics Bowl and debate is you don't have to disagree with the opposing team. You can be on the same side of an issue. And yeah, you all seemed interested in it. And I wasn't sure if you were fooling around. And then, Gus, I just learned an amazing thing from you earlier today about how it all started, where I thought we were working on a philosophical costume party, Claire.
Okay.
But it turned out the philosophical costume party required research. Like you were supposed to, Vera, you were going to dress up as Hypatia or
Right.
dress up as Descartes, and that was going to require you dressing up as Descartes. And so,
What happened, Gus?
So what happened was, actually that past week, I had seen some other clubs that were leaving to go to like a Model UN conference.
Okay.
I was jealous, like
Throughout the United States, not Vermont Central.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Well, no, I saw it from our school, BHS.
Okay.
team.
BHS, yes.
And
Model
I was like, come on, we got to do something.
Right.
And so I emailed Tyler, I want to do a field trip. So it was in my mind. He was like, let's figure something out. So I was kind of talking about it during the whole costume party thing. We were on our computers, and things just get sidetracked. I start looking it up, and then Ethics Bowl, like, oh, what is this?
Right.
So we look it up, and we learned that we could end up going to North Carolina. And originally, our plan was, there's no other team in Vermont. we're just going to get a free ticket there, and we're just going to have a vacation and see what happens when we get there.
Got it.
And then we learned of all these steps along the way. We got a little bit thrown off, like, oh, we're not going to be very good. We don't practice.
Right.
Like, we don't even know what the format is. So then we sent some emails and make some phone calls on that exact day when we were supposed to be researching.
Right.
And next thing you know, the next week we were told, do so-and-so to make a team. Tyler registers us, and then we're the Vermont state champions.
Okay, well, so you, like I said, so to break it down for the listening audience, so UNC College of Arts and Sciences, the Parr Center for Ethics, they are proud UNC, they said the focal point of ethical inquiry and discussion, and they're the home to the headquarters for the National High School Ethics Bowl. So all regional and divisional competitions and host to, like we just said, the Ethics Bowl. How do you qualify to get there? So even though you might be the only Vermont team, what did you have to do? You made a road trip to?
Yeah, so first we went to New Hampshire.
Okay.
And we competed against, I think, maybe 14 schools. And
throughout tri-state or?
Mostly New Hampshire.
Okay.
We were the Vermont champs who were
Okay.
there, and there was one school from New York, Franklin Academy, that was there.
right, yeah.
And we won. We won the tournament. It was our first time competing. It was incredible.
All right,
It was
how do you
just-
win an ethics tournament? Questions?
I mean, yeah, we were going in blind. Like, we did not know what to expect. Like, we had just watched like one nationals video in class. Everyone was like, this is like scary, like big words. What is going on?
Okay.
We're going to this next week. How are we gonna do this?
How do you prepare?
And so we just like went over the cases, and we
Do they give you, sorry to keep interrupting, do they give you set cases? Okay, so you read the cases, okay.
Yeah. So the cases had been out for a while.
Okay.
And we had just been like reading them and then like talking about the questions as a group, but we didn't really know what like the format would look like. So we kind of had to like adjust, and it took a lot of practices for us to actually get like the correct format.
Yeah.
So we had to do that, and then we practiced the format, and really like the last week we really got it down, and we were locked in, like every case, we know all of this, and then we went there and we won.
Unbelievable. And what was the top three things? Most intimidating, what surprised you, and the case that you felt like, is it one case that that tipped the scale, or that you won at, or like what were their feedback to say why you won? So what was anything intimidating?
I just remember walking in the first time. We were playing this fancy private school. And we walk in, and they're all like, hey guys, they'd all done it before. And my team walked in, it was me, Vera, and some other students, and we were terrified. We like have a little huddle, we're like, okay, we got this. We just sit down and we just do it.
Okay.
And I thought we lost by a lot. I thought from the first round.
You did it.
I had to sit out that round because you can only have 5 people compete. and we
Okay,
have 6
got it.
people.
I thought the first round I was like, no way we won that. And then we ended up winning. And that was the way it's been for every single game we've played.
So low expectations, or your gut, don't follow your gut, because
Right.
you're wrong. Mac, what did you feel? What was intimidating? So people, place might have been intimidating. Questions like, or organization, what did I ask?
I think one of the most intimidating questions my team got was there's this one of the cases was it was related to should there be some kind of limit on how long people should work in a week, because as it gets more and more competitive, it's just people, if you have the drive to do it, you could work, you could go to bed and then wake up and work, right out of bed. Like, you could just really prioritize it in an unhealthy way. And eventually, at some way down the line, I think my team, we had made the point that this is kind of just a product of how kind of the capitalist system works. It's
manic.
Yeah, it's going
Right.
to it's manic, and it just involves competition. At that point, it can get overly competitive. And the question we got was something like, do you is there some other kind of economic system that you would propose? And that was just, it was like, listen, I'm not an economist. I'm 17.
It's a tough one for you and Annie.
Right.
It was very hard, and it was just kind of like, yeah, that was very intimidating. But it was also like flattering for us to get that question, because it's like, well, you are asking us.
Right, and it's time bound, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
you guys are, yeah.
Wow. Annie, any feedback on competition?
Well, this isn't competition specific, like in an actual case, but I think probably like the most amazing moment was when, so there's like there are like 3 rounds before we go on to the champion, like the finals.
Yes.
And we went into it and we were like, if we lose every single match, it's gonna be okay. Like we went, going is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And then all 3, because we're on 2 different teams. And then each of us just kept winning each round in the first 3 matches. And then when we saw each other for the first time, because we'd been in different classrooms, we just we're hugging and screaming, and we were so excited. And it was so pure, and like it was
that example of one of your a competition. Where
that's
you're
an
meeting,
example. That's not. It wasn't photographs, unfortunately. But that's a great picture. It's very cinematic.
A picture worth 1,000 words.
Yeah,
yes, but
totally.
how wonderful. I mean, again, I think the humility part. Not that I'm saying public school kids have humility, and I'm not. That's obviously a big generalization.
I do think it actually helped us. I do think it did. We had a different story to. As opposed to the other teams that were there.
Right.
And I think no doubt
that energy and that humility. Yeah, and I think the way you, obviously from the top, your leadership, there's no pressure, even if it is not based on pressure and it's not sports and there's not an end result in the finish line, and it is more about, pulling out of you deep thought and creativity within your partners. How refreshing, though, to know that the makeup, you all feel safe, as intimidating as you were, to feel safe amongst each other. I think that resonates with everything that you've discussed today. So, amazing accomplishment. You leave there, you can't believe your good fortune. Yeah. Now, where are we headed? I know so we have about 3 minutes left.
Yeah, so we won the New Hampshire tournament. We went 9-1 and won the tournament. And then we qualified to face the champion of Massachusetts, and whichever team won that match got to go to North Carolina. And so that was on Zoom. And on Zoom, we won a unanimous decision against Concord Academy, a school in Concord, Massachusetts. Yeah. And the picture that's up right now with them celebrating, that was right after we'd heard the judges announce we won 3-0. It's like boxing, where you're competing in front of the judges and the judges score the fight.
And what did you prefer, just in person or on Zoom?
Oh, in person.
In person.
Yeah.
Zoom was hard. Zoom was a lot harder for me.
Yeah.
It's so much more stressful. Like a big thing, like at least for me, is like body language, eye contact, and like being on Zoom, and like this was our first time, like going in blind basically again, and it was like, oh my gosh, I have all these papers in front of me and this laptop, and it's like 11 a.m. on like a Saturday. What is going on? Like, we need to win this. We need to go to North Carolina, and it was just like.
But it did lead to this great moment where, because it was in Burlington, all our families could go in this other room. Yeah. And we were sitting in a separate room in the UVM Philosophy building. And when they announced the score, they were streaming it on a projector.
Right.
And I just remember hearing like the uproar from the parents in the other room, having everyone come running into the room. And that was something that we could not replicate in person, which I thought was a really special thing to be able to do.
Yes, without a doubt. The fact that you can experience both, and when due to budgetary constraints or accessibility, Zoom is so great that it provides the opportunity for us to meet with Massachusetts, and there's no expenditures of hotels or travels. But to be able to have a divisional or a district or a regional, in person, because you can allot that time based on the sheer volumes of teams, but when it comes down to the finals. So you're headed to UNC
Chapel Hill in 5 weeks.
In 5 weeks. And is there anything in the community? I mean, how do you fundraise? How are you all traveling? Are you?
Claire, I'm thrilled you asked. People
Yes.
We have a GoFundMe. We'll have to put it up on our Instagram page, which
Yes.
is BHS Philosophy Club, right?
Okay, that's great. So
'Cause,
that's
yeah,
what
we
we'll do. So
need
we'll
some support.
on your Instagram.
Yep.
It is BHS Philosophy Club.
Yeah, I'll make sure we get a link up to our GoFundMe. Yeah,
Great.
Because it is expensive to get to go to UNC, and yeah, we need to raise some money.
And it's through April 10th through 12th, so you'll be there for a couple nights,
Yep.
and then come home. Well, you have our school board support and community. I'll let school board members know to reach out to their wards about helping fund.
Yeah, great.
But what a
Thanks,
treat to be able to sit with you all and speak to this and give it legs. I know you were featured in the school newspaper, which I have the picture up there as well, and you feel supported by your teachers, I always say professors, but faculty and staff and BHS community. What has that felt like? Students now saying, "You won." I can't. You've felt support.
The biggest thing that I've gotten were teachers coming up in the hallway. In the library, there's this big TV,
Yes.
and I've been playing a slideshow of the pictures of us for the past few weeks now. And teachers come to me and say, "What is a philosophy club? What even is ethics for?
Right.
And how do you win?" And I
Wow.
explain it to them, and they're just they're
Impressed.
overjoyed to see that BHS is
And
winning.
that's a gift to our community, because when you've been teaching in a school, no matter how old you are, things become very familiar and clubs become familiar. I know we have Scholars Bowl and we've done well as a school, and Chittenden County is super competitive. But to bring something new to the club, to the school community is so inspiring. That's what gives energy and new light and appreciation for the work that everybody does and can wrap their support around. So thank you so much for being here. Any parting words or things to, do you have the cases for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you divulge what the topics are? Yeah.
Yeah, there are 15 of
There
them.
yeah.
They
There's a lot.
range.
It might be hard.
Okay. Couple.
But you can access them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're online. We could put a link up to the cases too.
Oh my
People can
gosh,
read them.
So people can read them. So 15 different cases you said that
Yep.
you've got to learn to work together.
Yep.
And, okay.
Yeah,
well,
talk about the ethical issues.
So impressive. Well, thank you so much. I feel so lucky to be able to be here and hear about it, and then we'll have to have you back, or you got to speak to the register. I wonder if it's live stream or however. I'll check with the Par Institute how UNC does it to get there. But
Right.
very cool. Well,
Thank you so much for
much.
having
Thank you so much for having us.
It's really fun.
Exciting. Well,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you
Thank
so
you.
much as well.